It's time for two teams of crisps to battle for the first ever Snackuille O'Neal Trophy. The teams of snacks will battle for glory, honor, bragging rights, and the huge jump in sales that comes from a recommendation by this podcast. In this corner, it's the cheesy tag team of Parmesan and Cheddar. It's Team Wisps. And in this corner, it's barbecue, it's pizza, and you better believe it, it's that pesky Mini Chicken Crimpy. It's Team Shapes.
Ooh, you better believe that is a good shape. I admire that shape.
Shape it.
Whispers of Shapes. The first and potentially last ever Snackuille O'Neal Invitational begins now. You tried it. You tried that. Snackuille O'Neal Invitational. What the fuck are we doing? I'm Nick Novak with my pal Shane Hancock.
Howdy.
Nick Geiger.
Hello.
Look, all right, we had all these, let me just explain, because I came up with this name.
Loose ends the podcast today.
Yeah, so, okay. We got all these extra snacks that were like multiple flavors of the same kind of snack, right? Like we got these 3 shapes sent to us by, my buddy and Adam in Australia. We didn't want to do a whole episode just talking about shapes. And same with the wisps were some extra snacks that we got from Des. So we thought, let's just throw them all into one, just rapid fire episode. What can we call it? Well, friend of the podcast, Shaquille O'Neal came to mind. So here we are, Snackuille O'Neal. The worst name ever made.
Great. Now, Chad, you were mentioning you were performing a countdown right before this, and your wife insisted it be mentioned on the podcast. What was it?
Yes. Well, okay. So she was upstairs and she needed me to count. She needed me to set a timer on my phone for 30 seconds and yell out to her, when the timer was up, right? So this was right before I come downstairs. So I start up my phone. I hit 30 seconds in the timer app. I start it. And, I need to give her like a little bit of heads up, right? You don't just all of a sudden go like, time's up, right? You do like a countdown the last couple seconds. But you guys know me. I am maybe the laziest man alive, or certainly in the conversation. So it gets down to like the last thing, I give her like a 10-second shout out, 10 seconds, comes down to 5 seconds. Here's how I handle the last 5 seconds. 5, 3, 1, time's up. Like that. Now, her reply was immediately, "Who does that?" She insisted I get your guys' take on my countdown abilities.
It's confusing. Now, when you set out to count down from 5, was your plan to say all of them, but you were was it the laziness that you're just like, I don't need to say them all?
Yeah, because in the past when she's had me done it, I have given her like a full last 5-second countdown. But, it's just one of those days, and I can't be bothered to say 4 or 2.
Also,
when you
talk about in the past, how often is your wife telling you to count down? She
doesn't have her
30?
own watch? I don't understand. So you're both lazy. She's too lazy to do her own countdown. You're too lazy to say 2 numbers, which I'm very confused as to how that's really extra effort besides vibrating your vocal cords slightly and leaving your mouth ajar.
And Geiger, you mentioned that you're drinking a weed beer. Is that right?
Yes, I am drinking Sweetwater's 420 strain Mango Kush Wheat Ale that's got a bunch of hemp in it.
420? There's the extra numbers that I didn't count.
4, 2, 0. Next time call me and you can shout 5, I'll shout 4. So spoiler alert, I've never actually, I don't know, that's not really a spoiler. It's a fact of my life, not a spoiler. I've never smoked weed, but I definitely smelled it. And this beer, I opened the bottle and it stank like weed. And as I tasted it kind of tastes weedy, or I'm assuming it tastes like weed smells. And it's not a great beer, I gotta be honest. It's not very that refreshing.
I'm shocked.
But I am pretty chill, bruh.
An odd odd recent weed story. It had been, I don't know, a decade plus since I had smoked weed, but a lot in high school and then nothing forever. And my wife decided she wants to try smoking. So she gets gets some weed from a guy she works with. And I'd met the guy before, but he seemed like definitely a pothead, but nothing too shady about him. So she brings the weed home, and we decide one night the kids are going to be gone out of the house. We'll smoke this weed. So we sit down, we smoke it. Everything seems to go according to plan.
Yeah.
We then go to bed. Now, suddenly in the middle of the night, I hear this crash. Like, we don't have a skylight, but if there was a skylight that crashed and fell in, that would be the sound of it. And it's so loud, like it's right in my ear. I jump out of bed and I'm running around and can't figure out where the sound is coming from. And I check every single room. I can't see anything. And then I go into the master bathroom, and the shower door has fallen off the hinges and smashed onto the ground.
Oh my
On
god.
some freak accident. All I can think of, there's no explanation for it. All I can think is, what was in that fucking weed? Like, I'm looking at this the door smashed onto the ground, and I only can think I'm hallucinating this. So it's just a really like odd, strange coincidence. But and I never did know what happened, but likely was some kind of ghost or something.
It wasn't. So you weren't like smoking in the bathroom and then like threw your joint into the at the shower door, and then the shower door bent over to try to take a hit and then fell and broke.
I mean, I was incredibly high. I ran headfirst at the shower door, blacked out. When I woke up, I'm like, what in the hell happened to the shower door?
Now, is it possible your wife, in a high stupor, smashed it and just didn't own up to it, and then later was like, "Oh yeah, that's so strange."
Yes, because while I was smoking the weed the guy brought, she was taking ecstasy, so it could have been part of it.
Didn't you guys? Isn't it true that you guys watched weed, or you smoked weed, and then you were watching a Gallagher special, and then your wife got the idea, went and got a sledgehammer, and said, "The problem with the shower door, smash."
We actually were just weed watching. We smoked it and just stared at the joint.
Maybe this guy she worked with gave you like weed, like laced with methamphetamine or something. You just, I got your shoe, and just headbutted the shower door until it cracked.
Geiger, you haven't done. Chad, we know because he's talked about edibles on here.
Yeah.
But Geiger, you have done nothing but heroin, right?
Just straight heroin. I wear long sleeve shirts all the time because my veins are just pure black at this point, and just I'm mostly black tar heroin and a little bit of blood running through myself. Probably shouldn't joke about that. Yeah, it's because I'm a feminist. I believe in strong heroines. It's strange. A lot of people see my gnarly unkempt beard, which is especially gnarly in the wake of the pandemic, which I have just let it completely grow out and assume that I'm a huge pothead. But I never have. I'm not opposed to it. I always think, oh, I should try that. And then I'm also like, but I'm 40. I have 2 kids, and why bother? But I suppose it's not a reason to not try.
I would have assumed too. I've known you forever, but I've seen you do things like throw up on my pants and things like that.
Oh yeah. I'm like, I have no problem getting drunk or throwing up on your pants, throwing up on other people's pants. I was with a friend of mine one time in college, and he's like, we were just hanging out, talking, drinking some beer. He's like, oh, hey, wait 1 second. And he's like just sitting in an easy chair in the middle of his living room. And he reaches down underneath his chair and pulls out like a dinner plate covered in cocaine. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, do you mind? I go, yeah, you can. I'm not going to do it. And then I was thinking, like, is that how you store cocaine? Like, it's like just opening on a plate, not covered or wrapped up, and under a chair. Like, it's probably also collecting dust, and like these mice are all running around his house just high as fuck, like slamming into the walls and chewing extra speed. I'm like, that's kind of gross, actually.
But was it like a paper plate, or was it like fine china?
Yeah, it was like a ceramic plate, like you would eat like a nice dinner off of. So he snorted a few lines. We had Jimmy John's. But
Who is this guy?
A guy I knew from high school. I'm not going to talk about his coke habit on our podcast.
What's his name and
I'm
address?
not giving him his Jimmy John. It was Jimmy John.
His name is Plate McSnorty.
His name was Poor Planning. But I'm not opposed to it. It's weird.
Tell me if this is weird. We we really like the smell of our daughter. She smells like a baby, right? But like there's something about it where it's just like she kind of smells good. So you go up and you're like, she smells nice.
It's not weird. It's weird when you say it that way.
Okay. Is this weird though? So now I will take her and I will like sort of lay her across my legs this is in front of my wife. I'm not just doing this in a vacuum. Like there's an audience for this.
This is gonna get weird.
And then I will mime like I'm cutting up lines across her back, with my finger, like as if it's a credit card, just kind of cutting it along, and then I'll do like a huge snort across her back.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Kind of weird.
There's a cute way to say it to just say, I really like the smell of my baby. She smells so great. That's, just end it there. Or I like to go up to my baby and go, that just makes it sound definitely weirder.
It's cool if you either love the smell of your baby or you love cocaine, but when you combine them, it's just weird.
Now, be clear. There's no cocaine on my baby's back at the time. Like she's not a dinner plate. She's a baby.
Yeah. So I remember last time I stayed with Chad. He's like, "Hey, you want some coke?" I'm like, "What?" And he pulled his baby out from under an easy chair and was keeping it. Good old days. I was like, that doesn't seem right. And then we went upstairs and did some coke. So I don't even know why she was under it. But...
and then we snorted a baby and ate some Jimmy Johns. A typical Friday night.
All right, let's begin the festivities. The Snackuille O'Neal Invitationals. Now, we're going to eat... let's eat the shapes first. We'll eat all 3 shapes, talk about them, rate. We'll eat everything. And then we'll do it. But Chad, we usually use a 5-point scale, but for these minis, we change it up a bit. Chad, what scale have you got for us?
I thought about this hard. We needed a numeric scale so that we could kind of very easily sort of average things out. And, there is actually a scale that we have used.
5, 3, 1.
That'd be great, actually.
There is a scale that we have used in the past in many of our episodes, specifically like the Oreo tournament or the M&M tournament, and that kind of scale might actually apply here, right? It'd be pretty relevant because this is the Snackuille O'Neal Invitational, and we all know what Shaquille is most famous for. So our rating tonight, we're going to rate these on a scale of 1 to 3 free throws. So
that's a great joke if you listen to all the episodes.
That's an inside joke.
What are we doing first? Mini Chicken Crimpy?
Yeah, yeah, sure. We'll do Mini Chicken Crimpy. You could tell that is Arnott. We already know is that's English, isn't it? Or is it Australia?
Australian. They're the makers of Tim Tam.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the packet says flavor you can see, and this looks like the plainest cracker of all time.
Yeah.
I cannot see flavor on this, no.
I can see a cracker.
What is Mini Chicken Crimpy supposed to taste like?
What the fuck is crimpy? Australia Crimpy is what I'm searching for.
There's definitely some flavor on it.
It just comes up with a bunch of links about Arnott's shapes, so I wonder if crimpy is some word they made up.
I wonder if it's crimpy because like the outside of the chip is like, or cracker is like crimped a little bit.
Okay, so I went to Urban Dictionary for chicken crimpy. And the the first definition, the accidental act of one testicle slipping from your tight fitting underpants or budgie smugglers and being trapped between underpant and thigh.
Is a chicken crimpy?
The sentence, rushing to be first in the pool, Louise's poorly fitting budgie smugglers caused a rather embarrassing chicken crimpy to emerge that didn't delight family or friends.
That guy's really gilding the lily with that definition there. 16-word sentence.
So are we eating Louise's testicles?
Yeah, I think
These are oval-shaped, thin, I'd say like almost like an oval-shaped mini Ritz. And these are pretty There's a decent flavor on them. They don't taste like chicken to me in any way. The barbecue ones don't taste like barbecue. Maybe barbecue in Australia means something different.
Ugh, I don't like these at all. The barbecue ones taste like tomato.
You can actually see the flavor on the pizza and the barbecue ones.
Yeah. Everyone knows Australia is famous for their pizza.
Are we going to rate these three, or are we going to eat everything?
Let's eat everything first.
I feel like eating the barbecue and the pizza, like I don't notice a huge difference.
I was just about
No.
to say, like, barbecue basically tastes like pizza plus, like a slightly stronger tomato.
Yeah.
All right. Then they're going up against the Wisps, and we've got two of those. The Wisps are made by, who the hell makes these? Just Wisps. That is the company too, I guess.
Mm.
And on the back, it says, an airy, crispy, crunchy, and tasty snack made solely from one ingredient, 100% true cheese. Made from Cello's award-winning Parmesan cheese, Wisps are a good source of calcium and protein. So these are they're similar. They have that circular shape and real similar size to the Shapes crackers.
Did we eat something like
Ugh.
this recently? This is a familiar flavor to me.
Something like this. I don't know what it was, but a real
Yeah.
similar.
Moon cheese, right? Or something like that?
Yeah.
I don't think it was the moon cheese. That's the exact first thought that came into my head. But it was something. It was something a lot like that.
Like really recently, I feel like we had like Parmesan cheese like crackers.
It's definitely a newer trend where these crackers are just complete. It's all cheese.
Mm-hmm.
So we've tried a number of different products like this, so it's definitely a new kind of healthier trend.
Oh, Geiger, I think you're thinking of the Sonoma Creamery Parmesan crisps.
That's probably it. I know in college I tried these Jimmy John's chips they had. They were made entirely of hardened Coke.
Light and airy.
It's the whole pack is 100 calories and 9 grams of protein, which is pretty significant. So I could see this being a pretty healthy snack. I think a decent amount healthier than the Shapes are.
Do you guys have a preference between the cheddar and the Parmesan?
When I first ate the Parmesan, it was a little overwhelming, but then the cheddar felt bland in comparison. I think I might actually prefer the Parmesan a little bit more. I didn't think that would be the case, but I think I do.
Yeah, me too.
Same. I would have guessed I would have liked the cheddar better, but I think the cheddar flavor is not quite as pleasing as the Parmesan. The Parmesan just kind of works better in this form, I think.
Cheddar has a weird aftertaste too, a little bit. It kicks in at the end.
Well, I kind of forgot what all the Shapes tasted like.
I'm not worried because, spoiler alert, I think they all suck.
All right, how many free throws are we rating on? 3?
1, 3, or 5 free throws.
Okay, 1, 3, or 5, 3.
The old 5 free throw shot. We get fouled from shooting another gym.
You got fouled shooting a 3, and there was also a flagrant foul on the play.
Someone just came up and socked Shaq in the nuts while he put a 3 up.
Or he was just playing like rock and jock basketball, right? And he
Mhm.
got fouled standing on the 5-point square.
As Shaq was wont to do, taking a 3 from the 5-point square in rock and jock basketball.
Meanwhile, his teammate Axl Rose was pulling out a plate of Coke from underneath the player's bed.
Oh, sweet child of mine, Shaq for 3. Play by play. How it worked.
Maybe he sang "Sweet Child of Mine" because his daughter had cocaine all across her back, and the child really was sweet. No? Okay.
The weirdest fucking episode ever. Not only this is leftover snacks, apparently it's leftover jokes that we're also using, just rounding up the cutting room scraps here.
Geiger and I play in a basketball league together.
We do.
Geiger is our Dennis Rodman.
Yeah. Mostly just that I show up drunk. That's pretty much. I can't shoot or dribble a basketball to save my life, but I can rebound and I will gym hustle the next guy. But Novak is our scorer. It goes if Novak can pop off like 10 points in the first half, we got a shot. The rest of us just have to scrape together.
My goal is to ask all my friends who are worse at me than basketball, just so I could go in and jack up as many shots as I want.
Here's the ball, Novak.
Interesting basketball story before we rate about how basketball game almost completely ruined Geiger's and I friendship, and then it was saved by mascots because
I think it strengthened it overall, though.
Yeah, because Geiger invited me to a Bucks game when we were in college, and it was on a weekend. It was like a Saturday or Sunday game starting at like 11 a.m. or something. Just one of these weird. It was probably on like a triple header on TV or something.
Yeah.
And so Geiger says, "I'll meet you at the stadium. Here's the ticket." He gave me the ticket. "I'll meet you at the stadium at game time." I'm at the stadium at game time, and Geiger's not there, nor is he answering any calls. So I've seen him the night before. I am sitting in the stadium just watching this game alone between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Orlando Magic. I couldn't give a fuck about watching. So he shows up probably like 10 minutes before halftime.
Yeah,
And
I
I am not all that happy. Right, he just overslept. And I was very upset at the guy. And lo and behold, but the hand of God should step in to save our friendship when the halftime show was the mascot basketball game. So it was just 5 mascots pinned against each other. None of them can see. They're just going up and down the court, slamming into each other. Ronald McDonald's the only one who can see, and he's jacking up threes. And we were crying, laughing.
The best parts, there was 3 best parts. A, there's an announcer, and so he's like calling them by their he's like, "All right, Charlie Tuna with the crossover." And it's like this guy fumbling around, falling over. B is there was a 7-foot tall cousin sub, and the guy can barely. He's just standing under the hoop and just kind of like rotating in a circle. And people get like Ronald. It was the only guy, like Novak said, could actually had like range of motion, so he drove on him and just slammed into him when they fell over. Oh, hard foul on the cousin subs. And then the third one was a guy that never got in the game. It was the Gorton's fisherman, like the fish, like the fish sticks. And it was just an old man with a beard wearing a raincoat. He's just sitting on the bench, just looking around. And I don't know why, I just kept looking at him and dying laughing. Like, this old man just hanging out in a raincoat watching a bunch of fucking idiots play basketball.
So we laughed for a half hour straight and forgot every care in the world.
I had actually seen, that's something they've done repeatedly, because I had gone to a Bucks game with my dad, like, I want to say 5-6 years before that, and also saw that. And the highlight of that was a Ninja Turtle taking a chest pass to the face, and his head went flying off. And I was like, "Oh, Raphael lost his head!" Like real. And I could not say. My dad's like, "What the fuck is this shit?" Like he was I just couldn't stop laughing. I actually remember recently, like within the last 5 years, like trying to find out when that game was, if it's still a recurring thing, and like getting us tickets just to go watch it. And Novak, I'm sorry for being late.
Yeah, that whole thing sounds like some kind of prank that one of these super smug rich pieces of shit like Elon Musk or something would do, where he'd be trying to befriend you, and then he's like, "Hey, I bought us courtside tickets to the game," and then he just doesn't show up, and then afterward he's like, "Did you join the game, you piece of shit?" or something like that.
What?
Yeah, that common scenario where the megalomaniacal billionaire buys you a ticket to a basketball game.
What are you talking about? Let's be fair. If Geiger had got me courtside seats, I wouldn't have been mad if he was late. I was sitting literally with my back against the top wall of the stadium. So.
Let's be fair. If I was Elon Musk, I wouldn't be friends with you assholes. I'd be fucking rich and bagging supermodel. No, I'm kidding. I'd like you guys.
You guys are all right.
You guys are fine.
He says as he pulls the plate of Coke out from the chair.
Oh.
All right, let's rate things.
Yeah.
So Geiger, you're up first. You got 5 numbers to give us.
Jesus Christ.
1 for each shape, and then 1 for each wisp, on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1, 3, and 5 are your options. Free throws. 1 free throw, 3 free throws, and 5 free throws.
That's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever heard. Well, I'll make it easy. The shapes are all 1s. All these shapes suck. They're not good. The plain, what's the one that's your testicles? The mini Chicken Crimpy. It's just a
Which
it's
one's
a dry.
the testicles?
It's like a dry cracker that's got a little bit of like chicken seasoning on it, like that. There's like these chicken biscuit crackers I've seen too. It tastes like that, a dry cracker with a little like almost like Lowry seasoned salt type thing on it. It doesn't taste good. Fuck that thing. That's a 1. Although that's probably the best of these. The other 2,
One what?
one free throw. My apologies. Uh, come on, man. Everyone knows it's one free throw. The shapes, like the barbecue and the pizza, Chad nailed it. They taste exactly the same. Only the barbecue has a stronger tomato flavor. It doesn't taste like barbecue, and it doesn't taste like pizza. So they've whiffed on the actual flavor profile.
Yeah.
And they also just don't taste good. The barbecue one's actively bad. Can I give that one like -2 free throws or?
Not an option.
Okay. That one just sucks. So the barbecue is probably the worst thing I think I ate today. The pizza's okay. It's milder. It's reduced of that terrible pizza flavor, but it's still not good. That's a 1 as well. These shapes.
1 what?
Free throw. So if you're scoring at home, it's 3 free throws to 0 free throws so far. Okay, on to the wisps. So dumb. Both of these are good. I think I agree that we talked about the Parmesan's better. So I'm going to give the Parmesan. I actually do like the Parmesan ones, and I believe I don't remember what the score is, so don't quote me, but I remember at least eating the whole snack of that other one you mentioned we tried recently. I'll give the Parmesan. Here's the thing. I'll give them both 3s because I like them, but I can't eat a ton of them at once. Like I feel like I have 2 or 3, and the taste is too much. Like we talked about on the last episode about like ice cream flavor and getting too much after a while. I think this is the same phenomenon where after 2 or 3 of these crisps, I'm like, I just can't do anymore, but they do taste good. So I will give them Parmesan cheese crisp a 3, the cheddar cheese crisp a 3, 3 throws, of course. And I had to pick an overall free throw champion, the Mark Price of this group. It would be the Parmesan cheese crisp.
All right. So it's 6 free throws to 3 free throws as it stands, and that's in a 3-against-2 matchup. So
wait a minute, does that mean like a
let's see if they can win it straight up. Let's see. I think they may.
It's a handicap match.
Yeah. All right, Chad.
Who's Mark Price?
He played for the Cleveland Cavaliers for a long time, and he was
good 3-point.
I believe he's got one of the highest. I think Steve Nash has the highest free throw percentage. I could be wrong about that, but Mark Price was up there. He was known for shooting like 91, 93% from free throw. He's
a super rich guy who invited Geiger to Wimbledon and then didn't show up. And was like, fuck you.
So Geiger's right about the barbecue and the pizza shapes. These things are dog shit. I don't like tomato to begin with, so it was an uphill battle for me. They are both getting 1 free throw. That was very easy. I have a hot take for you guys. I prefer the chicken crimpy shapes to the cheddar cheese wisps.
Based on what?
Free throws?
I don't. Yeah.
Free throw form?
I don't love the aftertaste of the cheddar cheese wisps. It is like they're kind of oily in my mouth afterwards, and there's just something like a little off-putting about that taste. I don't love the testicle shapes either, but I would pick them over the cheddar cheese wisps. But I am going to give both of them 3 free throws. For me, the clear winner here, heads and tails above everybody else, is the Parmesan cheese. That is getting 5 free throws from me. So add in 8 free throws for the wisps and 5 more free throws for the shapes, bringing us to
14-8.
Yep, 14-8. I was just about to say that.
All right.
But it's still possible for the shapes to pull it out.
Sure. It'd be even more possible if they didn't taste like shit.
Thank you.
Well, I'm going to agree with Chad in that for saying what needed to be said, that the Mini Chicken Crimpy shapes are better than the cheddar cheese wisps.
Really? They're just a plain ass cracker. There's nothing to them.
I think they could be decent dipped in something.
Are we rating them dipped in something?
It's a great Chad line to use against him.
Oh, cool. Were we rating Hawaiian Punch? Whatever you got mad at me with that one time.
I'm going to give the pizza and barbecue 1 free throw each. They are bad, aggressively bad.
Yeah.
I would not recommend them. I'm going to give the other shapes, though, the testicle ones, a 3.
3 what?
A total 3 free throws. So 5 free throws added for a total of 13 free throws. So it would be over anyway, but I'm actually going to give the Parmesan cheese crisps still just 3 free throws.
Uh-huh.
I think they're fine. They're just okay. I don't think these cheddar cheese ones are even good. I'm going to give them 1 free throw. So it's an additional 4 free throws, which brings the final score of 18-13 in favor of the Wisps, even though they only had 2 players on the court.
Wow. What an upset.
Now, that is our review of 5 snacks we didn't like based on a free throw.
When we're spouting off numbers and stuff, does anybody pay attention and know what the fuck we're talking about?
Nothing will ever top the Oreo tournament that featured a full 45 minutes of rules. Okay, now if it gets down to the dunks, then we spun an Oreo or something. I can't even remember what the fucking thing was.
All right. Well, Geiger, where can the listeners contact us?
If you'd like to validate or refute my Mark Price claims, you can reach out directly to me. We'll talk Mark Price for a while. If you are Elon Musk and would like to abandon us courtside at a lavish NBA event, I'm fine with that. We can do that. I really don't want to meet you. You sound like a cock, but
yeah, fuck him.
So to actually buy me tickets and then please don't show up. That's fine.
Let me only interact with your butler. I don't ever want to talk to you, see you.
Yeah. Send somebody in a Tesla to come pick me up and then don't interact with me. Give me plenty of SpaceX.
Wow.
Moving right along. You can reach out to us directly to give us feedback on the podcast. Suggest a question for the mailbag, which I don't think anyone's done in a good 2 years. You can do that at youtrydat@gmail.com. You can do that on Twitter, #YouTriedThat. You can do it on YouTube. You can do it on Instagram. You can do it on Facebook of You Tried Dat group. You can do that wherever you can find your podcast. We are available. And as always, thank you for listening.
Now, final question. Which billionaire would you want to invite you somewhere and which sporting event? So, like, you could say Richard Branson to an Ottawa Senators game. Any billionaire and any sporting event.
Trying to think of who billionaires are.
I can't think of many.
Like Warren Buffett and but he's an old fart. I don't want to be anywhere near him.
Because he's old.
Because he's old? Okay.
He's probably nicer than some of these other guys. At least it seems like, like a Jeff Bezos or something like that.
Compared to all those 17-year-old billionaires walking around. I'm trying to remember how many billionaires I met back when I was the MVP of the Jackin' Off League. I can't remember. My sporting events.
My wife used to make fun of me because I used to have this fantasy that I would pretend play out in my head so I live in San Francisco. Mark Zuckerberg also lives in San Francisco. My dog is a Puli. That's the type of dog that I have. Mark Zuckerberg also has a Puli. And he doesn't live all that far from me. It's about a mile or so. So I had this fantasy where it is conceivably realistic where I could be out walking my dog and he was also out walking his dog at the same time. And then we would bump into each other, start talking about our dogs. And then next thing you know, we're best friends and he's flying me all over the world in his private jet or whatever. So I used to have that. I used to talk about that. Oh, do you think maybe someday we'll be flying around on Zuckerberg's private jet? But now I think he's a piece of shit. So I don't want to do that anymore.
I was going to say, isn't he a huge stain?
Yeah.
Maybe he could fund your podcast. That'd be helpful.
Putting in a good word for it. Novak and I all get Pulis and just walk around San Francisco. Just 21 Pulis just swarming in his house. Oh, hey! You tried that?
Can you just share our podcast in your Facebook feed so that we can have 500 million people around the world listen to us talk about our pubes?
Hey, Mark, how many free throws did you give a Parmesan cheese wisp? What?
Release the hounds. No.
Just rabid pulleys just attack us from his yard. Yeah, what billion? I mean, I guess Mark Cuban, right? Owns the Mavericks. He could take us there. I guess all these sports owners are probably billionaires, so we could go to one of their games. I guess that they all seem like douchebags.
I want Mark Cuban to take me to a Spurs game.
It's just real weird. It's just like another basketball team. I want Mark Cuban to take me to a WNBA game. All right.
I want Mark Cuban to take me to a Jimmy John's and buy me a Cuban sandwich.
I wonder if there's an actually cool, down to earth,
no,
because even actors and athletes that we think of as being rich are probably not billionaires. Maybe Michael Jordan or some Tiger Woods or something like that, but they're not.
No, none are as cool as us.
Right, that's true. Pretty cool. I'm a pretty strong thousandaire though, guys. I have multiple thousands of dollars, not at any one given time. But
we've got a nice treat coming up in an upcoming episode. We're going to return to one of the old favorites. We will not spoil it, but make sure that you are tuning in next week. It should be a doozy. We'll be back next time. We'll be trying out 3 brand new songs.
Doozy.
Yep.